Okay. I don't know if I did 35 or not. So I'm going to start with Sutra 35. Visayavati va pravrittir utpana manasa stiti nibandhani. Sensuous or functioning occupation, pursuit arisen, born of the mind, steadiness, binder of, helpful in establishing. Coming into activity of higher senses also becomes helpful in establishing steadiness of the mind. The next means which Patanjali gives for making the mind steady is its absorption in some superphysical sensuous cognition. Such cognition may be brought about in a variety of ways, for example, by concentrating the mind on certain vital centers in the body. A typical example of this method in Laya Yoga, in which the mind is concentrated on nada, or superphysical sounds which can be heard at certain points within the body. In fact, this method of bringing the mind to rest is considered so effective that a separate branch of yoga based on this principle has grown up. How far this unification of the mind with nada, which forms the basis of Laya Yoga, can take the sadhaka in his search for reality, it is difficult to say. Since this method forms the basis of a separate and independent branch of yoga, it is possible some yogis were able to make considerable advance in their search by this method. But it is very probable that Laya Yoga merges with Raja Yoga at one stage or another, like many other minor systems of yoga, and is useful only in the preliminary work of making the mind steady and tranquil and giving the sadhaka direct experience of some superphysical phenomenon. Anyhow, the usefulness of this method is overcoming vikshepa and preparing the mind for the advanced stages of yogic practice, which is beyond question. Okay. Sutra 36. Vishoka va jyotismati. Vishoka va jyotismati. Sorrowless, serene, or also luminous. Also those serene or luminous states experienced within. Also through, though, I dropped the R. Also through serene or luminous states experienced within. Okay? In Laya Yoga, the mind is made steady by absorbing it in anahata shabda. The same object can be gained by bringing it in contact with other superphysical sensations or states of consciousness. Man's constitution, including both the physical and superphysical bodies, is very complex, and there are a large number of methods available for establishing partial contact between the lower and the higher vehicles. Some of these methods depend upon purely artificial aids, others on the japa of a mantra, and still others on meditation of a particular type. Which of these methods will be adopted by a sadhaka will depend upon the samskaras which he brings from previous lives and the capacity and temperament of the teacher who initiates him in these preliminary practices. As a result of such practice, the sadhaka may begin to see an unusual light within him or feel an utter sense of peace and tranquility. These experiences, while of no great significance in themselves, can hold the mind by their attractive power and gradually bring about the required condition of steadiness. The sadhaka should, however, keep in mind the purpose of these practices. In the first place, he should not attach to them undue importance and significance and begin to imagine that he is making great progress on the path of yoga. He is learning merely the ABC of yogic science. In the second place, He should not allow these experiences to become a mere source of emotional and mental satisfactions. Many people begin to use such practices as a dope and an escape from the stress and strain of ordinary life. If such wrong attitudes are adopted, these practices frequently become a hindrance instead of a help in the path of the sadhaka. So this is interesting. So he's talking about, your particular disposition, the latent impressions that you bring into this life, and what it attracts as far as which teacher you attract, what path you attract, and then what disciplines and practices you end up pursuing because your disposition aligns with or vibrates with them, right? But then he's also saying, well, you have to walk a really fine line. And again, we see this in the scriptures. They talk about this fine line that you have to walk. They call it the razor's edge, right? If you perceive things wrong, right, and it really depends on how you're interpreting and going about things, it'll take you off the path. Even though you're doing the practices, you're doing them in the wrong way, right? But if you don't want to go too far in either direction. You want to walk the razor's edge. It's interesting. Okay. I'll wait until this motorcycle goes by. I think that's my neighbor. Parks his motorcycle in front of his house. It's very loud. No, it sounds like it's going past. Okay. All right. Sutra 37. Vitaraga Vishayam Vachitam. Vitaraga Vishayam Vachitam. A human being who has transcended human passions or attachment, having for its object or also the mind. Also the mind fixed on those who are free from attachment acquires steadiness. Vitaragas are those souls who have conquered human passions and risen above raga dvesha. Meditation on the life and character of such a soul will naturally help the sadhaka to acquire freedom from raga dvesha himself, and thus develop serenity and steadiness of mind. It is a well-known law of life that we tend to reproduce in our life the ideas which constantly occupy our mind. The effect is heightened very greatly if we deliberately select some virtue and meditate upon it constantly. The rationale of this law used in character building has been discussed in detail in section 3, Sutra 24. And it is unnecessary to elaborate the point here, but we should note that Patanjali recommends meditation not on an abstract virtue, but on the virtue as embodied in a human personality. There is a definite reason for this. In the first place, a beginner who is still trying to acquire steadiness of mind is not likely to derive much benefit from meditation on an abstract virtue. The association of a beloved human or divine personality with a virtue increases enormously the attractive power of that virtue, and hence its influence on our life. Secondly, earnest meditation on such a personality puts us in rapport with that personality and brings about a flow of power and influence which accelerates our progress. The object of meditation may be one's master, or a great spiritual teacher, or one of the divine incarnations. So that's why they say, a lot of different traditions talk about that. You meditate on a saint or a sage or a god or goddess, and you start to take on the attributes of that incarnation. Okay, so now I'm going to flip forward to section 3, Sutra 24, so we can talk about the rationale of this law used in character building has been discussed in dealing with section 3, Sutra 24, and it is unnecessary to elaborate the point here. So let's just jump forward real quick and take a look at that. So Vibhuti, 29, 28, 27, 26, 24. All right. Maitri Adishu Balani. Maitri Adishu Balani. By performing samyama on friendliness, etc., comes strength of the quality. On friendliness, etc., strengths or powers. It's a pretty short one, but let's let's keep moving forward. Okay, these are a bunch of short commentaries, so let's move on to Sutra 38. Svapna Nidra Jnana Lambanam Va. Svapna Nidra Jnana Lambanam Va. Dream state, state of dreamless sleep, and knowledge, having for its support that on which a thing rests or depends also. Also the mind, depending upon the knowledge derived from dreams or dreamless sleep, will acquire steadiness. This sutra gives another method of overcoming vikshepa. This sutra giving another method of overcoming vikshepa seems to have been completely misunderstood, and many commentators have tried to explain it away with a lot of rigmarole. I love that word. The clue to the meaning of this sutra lies in the significance of the two words svapna and nidra. If we interpret the sutra as meditating on the knowledge obtained in dreams or dreamless sleep, it seems to be meaningless. What useful purpose will be served by meditation on the chaotic images which pass through the brain in the dream state? Nobody has cared to inquire. And even if we concede the point in relation to the dream state in which there are some images, though chaotic, what shall we say about the dreamless state in which the mind appears to be utterly blank? How is the sadhaka troubled with vikshepa to utilize this blank condition of the mind for developing one-pointedness? The fact is that svapna and nidra do not refer to the condition of the brain during sleep, but to the subtler vehicles into which consciousness passes through during the period of sleep. When we go to sleep, the jivatma leaves the physical body and begins to function in the next subtler vehicles. Very partial contact is maintained with the physical body to enable it to carry on its normal physiological activities, but the conscious mind is really functioning in the subtler vehicles. Many people called psychics have a natural capacity for passing out of the physical body into the next subtler world and bringing back into the physical brain more or less vague knowledge of their experiences in that world. The common man, though he is in the same subtler world during sleep, cannot generally bring back any memory of his experiences because his brain is not in that particular condition required for this purpose. If any mental images are transmitted, they become distorted and mixed up with the images which are produced by the automatic activity of the brain, and the ordinary chaotic and meaningless dream is the result. Sometimes the jivatma is able to impress some idea or experience on the brain, and a significant dream results, but this is very rare. All such mental activity is included in the svapna state. There is a deeper state of consciousness underlying the svapna state, corresponding to a still more subtler world, into which a person may slip during sleep. This corresponds to the higher subplanes of the astral world, or in rare cases, to the lower subplanes of the mental world. When this happens, the physical brain is completely cut off from the activities of the mind and naturally becomes a blank. This state is called, technically, nidra. It will be seen that though in this state the brain is blank, the mind is working at a higher level and dealing with phenomenon of a subtler nature. Now, it is possible by special training and practice to bring down into the physical brain a memory of experiences undergone in these subtler worlds corresponding to the svapna and nidra states. Under these conditions, the brain is able to transmit the mental images without any distortion, and the knowledge obtained under these circumstances is reliable. When this can be done, a great deal of useful information can be gathered and work done on these subtler planes during the period of sleep. The waking life gradually merges with the life in so-called sleep, and there is no abrupt break, which usually takes place on leaving the body or coming back to it after sleep. It is this definite and useful knowledge about these superphysical planes, which can be acquired during sleep, that is referred to in this sutra, and not the chaotic dream or the condition of void, which are experienced by the ordinary man. The gathering and bringing down of this knowledge into the waking state becomes a matter of absorbing interest and provides one method of overcoming the condition of vikshepa. In this case also, the mind becomes more and more one-pointed and engrossed in an objective which is inside, inward turned, right? It should be remembered, however, that this kind of mental activity has nothing to do with samadhi. It is allied to psychism and differs from it in the fact that it is the result of definite training, and therefore the knowledge which is acquired is more useful and reliable. All right, and then I'll read 39 as well, because it's a short one, and then we'll end for today, okay? 39. Yata bimata dayanad va. Yata bimata dayanad va. Desired agreeable by meditation or by meditation as desired. After giving a number of methods for overcoming the condition of vikshepa, Patanjali concludes this subject by saying that the sadhaka may adopt any method of meditation according to his predilection. This should bring home to the student that the practices recommended by the author are merely means to a definite end which should always be kept in mind. Any other method which serves to make the mind steady and open-pointed can be adopted. Open-pointed? One-pointed. Any other method which serves to make the mind steady and one-pointed can be adopted. Another idea which is implicit in this sutra is that the method chosen for this purpose should be in accordance with one's temperament. Right? You don't have to become different than who or how you are. Be yourself and go in the direction that most suits you, right? And then, embody that, imbibe that fully, totally immerse yourself in it, right? There are an innumerable number of meditations, of paths, of gods and goddesses for every personality type and every temperament and every disposition. There is something out there for you. If this isn't it, you can find it somewhere. It's out there, and you will get there if you immerse yourself in it, right? Be you. Be yourself. It's fine. You're fine. In that way, the mind is helped to acquire the habit of one-pointedness by the natural attraction for the object of pursuit. Thus, a sadhaka with clairvoyant tendencies will find the method given in Section 1, Sutra 38, not only attractive, but helpful. Another with an emotional temperament will find a natural predilection for the method given in Sutra 37. Such predilections are the result of training and experiences in previous lives, and generally point to the ray of the individual or the fundamental type to which he belongs. A little experimentation may be permissible in the selection of the method, but trying one method after another should not be allowed to become a habit, for this will aggravate the very malady which is sought to be cured, right? Does that make sense? Right? Jump around until you find what works for you, and then stick with it, right? Don't keep jumping around thinking that something else is better, right? Find what speaks to your heart and makes your heart sing and makes you excited and enthusiastic, and do that. Okay? All right, great. So we made it to Sutra 40, which I will do in the next video. His mastery extends from the finest atom to the greatest infinity. Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.